So when we were planning what to do before our Albufeira trip and I spotted a Seville Day Trip, it felt like the perfect chance to find out if it's somewhere we'd go back to properly. But here's the thing, we made one mistake on this trip that cost us real time that we just didn't have, and it meant missing something that I'd been really looking forward to. I'll tell you exactly what it was so you don't make the same mistake. If you're staying in the Algarve, here's what booking this actually looks like for you. A coach picks you up near your hotel in the morning, and sometimes the very early hours of the morning, drives you across the border into Spain and drops you in Seville for the day before bringing you all the way back. You get a coffee stop on the way there and on the way back, and there's a tour guide on the coach as well for the entire journey, so it's not just a bus ride, you're actually learning something before you even arrive. You're probably wondering what it actually cost. For us it was £147.80, and that was for 3 of us. That covers the transport and the guide. It doesn't include obviously any food or drink once you're actually there, so you do want to budget for that separately. We had a proper meal, a couple of drinks, and I'll be honest with you, for a full day out as a family of 3, the price was definitely cheaper than I expected. So now here's a bit that actually catches a lot of people out. You actually get around about 3 to 4 hours actually in Seville. And to be honest, that's not even guaranteed. It does depend on the traffic that you're going to get both ways. So you could get a little bit more or you could get a little bit less. And to be honest, 4 hours to me, it initially sounded like plenty, but that is until you actually stood in a city that you've never been to, trying to work out where to go, which is exactly where our mistake comes in. So here's that mistake that I mentioned. We just didn't plan anything before we went. We knew we only had 3 or 4 hours and still turned up without a plan for where to eat or what we specifically wanted to see. So a chunk of our limited time just got eaten up just wandering around looking for somewhere to eat because a lot of the places were very busy. When I went to Seville years ago, I found these stunning gardens with a building that's actually being used as one of the Star Wars filming locations, and I've been really looking forward to showing Rach and our son that exact spot for the whole time that we were planning this trip. And to be honest, I just couldn't find it. We ran out of time searching, and then we got a glimpse of it on the way past through the coach window on the way out of the city, heading in the opposite direction with just no way to stop. I was gutted. If you are doing this trip, here's one thing that I'd definitely tell you to do differently. Decide before you go. Pick 2 or 3 things that you actually want to see and pick where you're going to go and eat, or at least have some backup plans before you arrive. If this is the kind of content that you enjoy when you're planning a holiday and want more honest, no nonsense videos like this, not polished influencer stuff, just what it's actually like, then do hit subscribe. If you're watching from a TV, then don't forget to scan the QR code to subscribe as well. Was it actually worth it? Now, I need to be upfront with you, it's a long day. Early start, late finish. Our son found it incredibly tiring, so go in expecting that. But remember, why we actually booked this, it was just to give Rach a taste of the city. I already knew that she'd love it and find out if it's somewhere we'd actually go back to. And it worked. She loved it as well. Combine that with still owing them a proper look around the gardens, it's made us want to go back properly, either as a full city break or next time hiring a car ourselves, so we've got a little bit more control over the time. So yes, if you're asking whether or not it's worth it, for us, it did exactly what it needed to do. So should you book it? If you're staying in the Algarve and want to see somewhere completely different for the day without organising your own transport, I'd definitely say go for it. Just plan your time before you land, not afterwards. That's the one thing that we would have done that would made our day even better. I've popped a link to the exact trip we booked through Get Your Guide in the description. If you want to do the same one, it's there. It is an affiliate link. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but it does help to support this channel. Now, I did mention one of the big mistakes that we made in this video. If you are interested in more mistakes that we made, then do check out this video next. Alternatively, check out our entire Albufeira playlist, which features hotel reviews, costings, what we actually thought of Albufeira, and much more. You can see that playlist here.